January 6, 1949, Iwo Jima. The American patrol moves carefully through volcanic rock and scrub brush, boots crunching on black sand that hasn't changed since the battle ended nearly 4 years ago. The island is quiet now. No artillery, no screaming, no flames from flamethrowers that once turned these caves into crematoriums. Just wind and waves and the occasional call of seabirds that have reclaimed the cliffs. Then movement. A shadow shifts near a cave entrance, partially concealed by fallen rock. The patrol freezes, weapons rise. Someone shouts a warning in English that echoes off stone walls honeycombed with tunnels dug deep into the island's volcanic core. 2 figures emerge, slowly, hands raised. Uniforms that were once the dark blue of the Imperial Japanese Navy now hang in tatters, sun-bleached and salt-stained. The men are gaunt, faces hollow, skins stretched tight over bone, eyes blinking against daylight they haven't seen in months. Machine gunner Yamakage Kufuku steps forward first. Beside him, machine gunner Matsudo Linsoki follows. Both men are barely recognizable as the sailors who disappeared into these caves in March 1945, when the Battle of Iwo Jima was declared over and the American flag flew from Mount Suribachi. 3 years and 130 days. That's how long they've been down there, hiding in darkness, waiting for orders that never came, surviving in a war that ended while they remained entombed in volcanic rock, cut off from everything: communication, command, reality itself. The Americans approach cautiously. The 2 Japanese sailors don't resist. They simply stand there, swaying slightly, as if the weight of daylight itself is too much to bear after so long in shadow. This is not a battle. This is an ending that should have come years ago. Rewind to February 1945. Yamakage Kufuku and Matsudo Linsoki are Imperial Japanese Navy machine gunners assigned to the defense of Iwo Jima, a volcanic island 8 square miles in size, strategically positioned 760 miles south of Tokyo. They are part of a garrison of over 21,000 Japanese troops commanded by General Tadamichi Kuribayashi, a man who understands that this island cannot be held, only defended until every last soldier is dead. Kufuku and Matsudo are young men, trained in the code of Bushido, the warrior's way that teaches death before dishonor, that surrender is unthinkable, that a soldier's duty extends beyond logic or survival. They man their machine gun positions in a network of tunnels that riddled the island like a termite mound. 11 miles of interconnected passages carved into volcanic rock, some reaching 3 stories deep. These tunnels are not hasty foxholes. They are engineering marvels designed for prolonged defense. Ventilation shafts, storage chambers, command posts, hospital rooms. Everything connected, everything concealed, everything designed to allow Japanese defenders to appear, fire, and vanish back underground before American flamethrowers can reach them. The Americans don't know it yet, but this island will cost them more than any other battle in the Pacific, more casualties per square mile than anywhere else in the war. Because every cave is a fortress, every tunnel is a trap, every defender has accepted death as inevitable and intends to take as many Americans with him as possible. Kufuku and Matsudo prepare their positions. They check their Type 92 machine gun, a 7.7mm weapon designed for sustained fire. They stack ammunition. They wait. On February 19, 1945, 70,000 U.S. Marines begin landing on the beaches below. The Battle of Iwo Jima lasts 36 days, February 19th through March 26, 1945. It becomes one of the bloodiest engagements in Marine Corps history. 6,821 Americans killed, 19,217 wounded. Nearly all 21,000 Japanese defenders die. The volcanic sand turns dark with blood. The air fills with the smell of sulfur. cordite, and burning flesh. The Americans advance yard by yard. Flamethrower teams approach cave entrances, unleash streams of liquid fire that turn tunnels into blast furnaces. Tank-mounted flamethrowers called Zippos roast entire hillsides. The Japanese fight from concealment, emerge to fire, retreat underground, emerge again. The pattern repeats endlessly. On February 19th, Marines raise the American flag on Mount Suribachi, the photograph that will become iconic, the moment that suggests victory is near. But the battle continues. The northern end of the island remains a maze of fortified positions where Japanese soldiers refuse to surrender, refuse to retreat, refuse to acknowledge that the battle is already lost. Kufuku and Matsudo fight from their tunnel position. They fire at advancing Marines, conserve ammunition, retreat deeper when flamethrower teams get too close. They watch comrades die. They watch tunnels collapse. They watch the island transform into a moonscape of craters and corpses. By mid-March, organized resistance is crumbling. General Kuribayashi leads a final banzai charge, a desperate, suicidal assault that achieves nothing except honorable death. He is never seen again. His body never recovered. Command structure disintegrates. Individual units fight on without orders, without hope, without anything except the conviction that surrender is worse than death. March 26, 1945. The United States declares the battle over. Iwo Jima is secured. But deep in the tunnels, some men are still alive, and they have no intention of surrendering. The tunnels fall silent. No more explosions, no more machine gun fire echoing through volcanic stone, no more voices calling out in Japanese or English, just darkness and the sound of water dripping somewhere deeper in the system. Kufuku and Matsudo huddle in a chamber they've retreated to, one of the deeper positions in the 11-mile network, far from the entrances where American patrols might venture. They have survived, somehow. Impossibly, they have survived when nearly everyone else is dead. They face a choice that is not really a choice. Emerge and surrender, face the dishonor their entire culture has taught them to fear more than death itself, or stay hidden in the tunnels, wait for Japanese forces to retake the island, continue the fight from underground. The second option is objectively insane. Japan is losing the war. No counterattack is coming. The Americans control the island absolutely. Staying in the caves means slow death from starvation, dehydration, or eventual discovery by American patrols clearing the tunnels with flamethrowers and explosives. But Kufuku and Matsudo are products of a military culture that does not operate on Western logic. They have been taught that surrender is unthinkable, that capture means torture, execution, disgrace to family and emperor, that a soldier's duty extends beyond logic or survival. They have received no such orders. Therefore, the war continues. They inventory their supplies, some rice, canned goods scavenged from abandoned positions, water seeping from volcanic rock that can be collected and rationed, ammunition they no longer need. Their machine gun is lost, abandoned during a retreat deeper into the system. Medical supplies are minimal. Light sources are almost exhausted. It doesn't matter. They will endure. They will wait. They will survive until the Imperial Japanese Navy relieves them. The tunnels become...
Time loses meaning underground. There is no sunrise, no sunset, no rhythm of day and night to mark the passage of hours. Only darkness, broken occasionally by hoarded candles or makeshift torches that create dancing shadows on volcanic walls. Kufuku and Matsudo establish routines to maintain sanity. They ration food meticulously, a handful of rice per day, water sipped slowly to make it last. They exercise in the cramped chambers to prevent muscle atrophy, though malnourishment makes even simple movements exhausting. They talk, sharing memories of home, of family, of the world above that seems increasingly distant and unreal. The island above them has transformed. American forces construct 3 airfields. The reason Iwo Jima matters strategically, the reason so many died to capture it. B-29 Superfortress bombers damaged during raids on Japan make emergency landings here, saving crews who would otherwise ditch in the Pacific. The volcanic rock that once shook with artillery now rumbles with the thunder of aircraft engines. Kufuku and Matsudo hear these sounds, muffled, distant, proof that Americans control the surface. They venture out occasionally at night, moving through the tunnel network toward entrances where they can observe, gather rainwater, search for food. They see American patrols. They see construction equipment. They see a base being built on the bones of the battle they survived. And they retreat back into darkness. Months pass. Their uniforms deteriorate. Their bodies weaken. Malnutrition creates problems: loose teeth, bleeding gums, wounds that won't heal. They treat infections with contaminated water and prayers. They lose weight until their ribs show clearly, until their faces become skull-like masks stretched with skin. But they endure, because surrender remains unthinkable, because the code of Bushido doesn't include exceptions for starvation or isolation or the impossibility of their situation. The war above them ends in August 1945. Japan surrenders. But in the caves of Iwo Jima, the war continues. August 15, 1945. Emperor Hirohito's voice broadcasts across Japan, announcing surrender. The war is over. Across the Pacific, Japanese soldiers lay down weapons, raise white flags, march into prisoner of war camps. Some commit suicide rather than face defeat, but most accept reality and surrender. Kufuku and Matsudo hear nothing. The tunnels don't receive radio signals. No one comes to tell them the war has ended. No Japanese officer arrives to formally relieve them of duty. They exist in an informational vacuum, cut off from the world, sustained only by training and conviction. Even if they knew, would they believe it? The Imperial Japanese military spent years conditioning soldiers to distrust enemy propaganda. Americans claim victory? Of course they do. It's psychological warfare designed to trick defenders into surrendering. The emperor would never capitulate. Japan would never accept defeat. Anyone claiming otherwise is spreading lies meant to break Japanese morale. This is the logic that sustains holdouts across the Pacific, soldiers who remain hidden for years, decades even, because they cannot or will not accept that the war has ended. On Guam, on Lubang, on remote Philippine islands, Japanese soldiers continue fighting long after their nation has surrendered, long after the world has moved on. Kufuku and Matsudo are part of this phenomenon. Time passes, but their reality remains frozen in March 1945, in the moment when battle ended, but their war did not. They continue their routines. They continue rationing supplies that somehow, impossibly, they continue to find or stretch beyond what should be possible. They continue waiting for relief that will never come. 1946 becomes 1947. 1947 becomes 1948. The world above transforms. Japan rebuilds under American occupation. The Cold War begins. The Battle of Iwo Jima becomes history, documented in books and films, memorialized in monuments. And in the caves, 2 men wait in darkness. 3 years underground should be impossible. The human body requires nutrition that their scavenged supplies cannot provide. The human mind requires social interaction, sunlight, purpose beyond mere survival. The caves should have become their tomb within months. But somehow they persist. They adapt in ways that border on inexplicable. They learn which parts of the tunnel network collect rainwater. They discover that certain fungi grow in the deeper chambers, not nutritious, but enough to supplement their dwindling rations. They scavenge abandoned American supply dumps, creeping out at night to steal whatever they can carry back underground. The psychological toll must be immense. 3 years of near total darkness, 3 years of malnutrition, 3 years of isolation broken only by each other's company. 3 years wondering if relief will ever arrive, if their sacrifice means anything, if anyone above even remembers they exist. Matsudo develops a persistent cough, probably tuberculosis, though they have no way to diagnose or treat it. Kufuku's vision deteriorates from years in darkness, his eyes struggling to adjust during rare ventures to the surface. Both men suffer from chronic infections, parasites, dental problems that create constant pain they have no medicine to address. They should surrender. Logic demands it. Survival instinct screams for it. Every rational calculation points toward emerging, raising hands, accepting whatever fate awaits rather than continuing this slow death underground. But they don't. Because 3 years of conditioning doesn't evaporate. Because Bushido doesn't include surrender clauses. Because in the absence of orders to the contrary, their duty continues. By late 1948, they must know something is wrong. 3.5 years without relief. No Japanese counterattack. No indication that Imperial forces control anything above. The sounds from the surface are entirely American. English voices, American equipment, no trace of Japanese military presence. But knowing and accepting are different things. And so, they remain. January 9th, 1949. Something shifts. The exact catalyst is unclear. Perhaps desperation finally overwhelms conditioning. Perhaps they simply cannot endure another day. Perhaps some fragment of information reaches them that makes continued resistance impossible to justify even to themselves. Kufuku and Matsudo make a decision that would have been unthinkable 3 years ago. They will emerge, not to fight, they have no weapons, no strength for combat, but to end this, to step into daylight, to discover what has become of the war they've been fighting alone in darkness. The preparation must be agonizing. They know what emergence likely means: capture, imprisonment, possibly execution. The shame of surrender will follow them forever, will taint their families, will mark them as men who violated the warrior code. Everything their culture taught them says death is preferable. But they have been dying slowly for 3.5 years. Perhaps quick death is better. Perhaps they simply cannot continue. Perhaps something in the human spirit finally rebels against the impossible demands of Bushido when stretched beyond all reasonable limits. They choose a day, January 6th. They navigate the tunnel network one final time, moving toward an entrance they've observed where American patrols pass occasionally. They prepare themselves mentally for whatever comes next. The night before, do they sleep? Do they talk about what they're about to do? Do they pray? The sources don't record these final hours underground, these last moments when they are still defenders of Iwo Jima, still soldiers of the Imperial Japanese Navy, still men at war. Morning comes. They move toward daylight. Their hands shake from malnutrition, from fear, from the weight of what they're about to do. They reach the cave entrance. Volcanic rock frames a square of brightness that hurts their eyes after so long in darkness. They hear American voices outside. This is the moment. Step forward or retreat. They step forward.
January 6th, 1949. The moment they emerge into daylight, machine gunner Yamakage Kufuku and machine gunner Matsudo Linsonki cease to be soldiers and become survivors. The American patrol reacts with shock.
Japanese holdouts have been discovered on other Pacific islands, but on Iwo Jima? Nearly 4 years after the battle ended? It seems impossible. The island has been occupied, developed, transformed into an American air base. How could 2 men survive undetected for 3 years and 130 days? But here they stand. Physical evidence of endurance that defies reasonable explanation. Their condition tells the story their words cannot. Emaciated bodies, tattered uniforms, eyes that struggle with sunlight, hands raised not in defiance, but in exhaustion. There is no violence, no dramatic confrontation, just 2 broken men and a patrol of Americans who cannot quite believe what they're seeing. Someone calls for a translator. Medical personnel are summoned. The 2 Japanese sailors are given water, the first clean water they've had in years, and they drink slowly, carefully, as if afraid this is a dream that will evaporate. They are taken to the American base on the island, interrogated, though there's little intelligence value in what they can provide. They've been underground since March 1945. They know nothing of current Japanese military capabilities or positions. They are examined by doctors who document malnutrition, infections, parasites, the physical toll of 3.5 years in caves. But they are alive. Against every probability, against logic and medical expectation, they have survived. News of their surrender spreads. 2 Japanese holdouts found on Iwo Jima in 1949. The war has been over for 3.5 years, but for Kufuku and Matsudo, the war ended on January 6th. The aftermath is documented sparsely. Yamakage Kufuku and Matsudo Linsoki, whose name appears in some records as Rikyo Matsudo, are repatriated to Japan, a nation they barely recognize. The country they left in 1945 no longer exists. The emperor they served has renounced divinity. The military they belonged to has been dissolved. Everything they believed, everything they fought for, has transformed beyond recognition. They return to a Japan rebuilding under American occupation, to families who believed them dead, to a society struggling to reconcile wartime ideology with post-war reality. The shame they feared never materializes in the way they expected, not because their culture has forgiven surrender, but because the nation itself has been forced to surrender, rendering individual capitulation less significant. In 1968, 23 years after emerging from the caves, they do something remarkable. They write a book together, documenting their experience. Published under their names, Rikyo Matsudo and Kofuku Yamakage, the book preserves their story for history. What drove them underground, how they survived, why they stayed, what they thought during those 3 years and 130 days in darkness. The book exists as testament to an endurance almost beyond comprehension. 3.5 years in volcanic tunnels sustained by nothing except training, conviction, and the impossibility of surrender. They are not heroes in the traditional sense. They accomplished no military objectives, defeated no enemies, achieved no strategic victories, but they survived what should have killed them, and in surviving, they document something profound about the human capacity to endure the unendurable. Iwo Jima remains. The caves remain. The tunnels, 11 miles of them, still riddle the volcanic rock. Occasionally, even now, explorers find remnants, helmets, ammunition, bones of men who never emerged. The island is a monument to a battle that killed over 28,000 men in 36 days. And somewhere in those tunnels, Yamakage Kufuku and Matsudo Linsoki waited in darkness for 3 years, 130 days, until January 6, 1949, when they finally stepped into light and discovered the war had ended
without them.